So garlic and colds. Trying to see if garlic fends off colds. You often hear about colds and things you can do to fight colds. One of them is drink orange juice. I've heard that one quite a bit. Chicken soup, once you have a cold, apparently will knock it out of you. I've seen studies done about that. I haven't had any sources for you on that one. One of my favorites, of course, is the old start taking mega doses of vitamin C as soon as you have a cold. As soon as you have a cold, take mega doses of vitamin C, and within 10 to 14 days, it will be gone. I love that one. That's one of my personal favorites. Mega doses, within 10 to 14 days, cold's gone. I save your money, you just wait it out, it's gone too. So, but this is a fun one. This is actually a fend off colds. And we could pick holes in this one all day long, for sure. We could pick holes in this study all day long. Because if you look at how it was set up, let me see, here it is. Okay, guys, sulfur. Double-blind study, 146 healthy adults, tracked them. In other words, let them go into the world, yes? Let them go into the world. Problem with that, yes? Of course, what's the problem with letting them go into the world?
You don't know what they're getting into,
Of
what they're exposed
course. You've lost a very important control, which is everything else besides the garlic versus the placebo. I mean, what if a bunch of, well, anyway, that is a research methods issue. Of course, good luck keeping them in a lab for 5 months while you test the colds versus, and you do want them to get exposed to colds. I mean, you want them to be, that's the whole point, is you want to get them exposed to the viruses that are out there. But you can't measure the fact that they've been exposed equally to all of those. That's a bit of an issue. But it's okay. Let's just use the data anyway. I'm more interested in the mechanics of this to make sure you know how the mechanics work. The research methods come in later classes if you ever have to take them. So let's see this. 146, 72 garlic supplements, 74 placebo, which is a not stinky pill. Those who received the garlic supplement came down with 24 colds, compared with 65. That is whopping, yes? Yeah. That is whopping. But we have to measure the significance. It's clear that there's a difference in the results, 24 versus 65, with roughly equal sample sizes. But measuring the significance via a hypothesis test, can you see, and again, I like just bringing this one up just to bring it off from last Thursday, how this is proportions and not averages? Tell me how you could tell this is proportions and not averages. I just have an idea while you're thinking about that. How do you know well, besides the fact that I told you it's two proportions in the
72 out of 100%.
And the key words, Danielle, are out of. Yes, something out of something. Yes, we're actually talking about a percentage right there. It's in fractional form. So I have one idea I want to send to myself. Guys, all right. So, something out of something, definitely. And the other thing, if you want to be more refined, what distribution technically is being used? Well, let me ask you a different question. Either someone gets a cold, or they don't, assuming we've defined a cold well. That is tricky, right? That is tricky. We've got to define what a cold is. It's kind of like defining what ADD is. Assuming it's defined well, then you can make two piles of people, those who have ADD and those who don't, those who have a cold and those who don't. I mean, some things are easy to define, but some things are not as easy to define. So what's a cold? I'm sure there's a definition somewhere we can pick at. So it's binomial. You either have it or you don't. Max either gets his Crocs on the right feet or he doesn't. It's binomial. That's a little more obvious than a cold, perhaps. So we know we're testing proportions. How many proportions are we testing? And again, the data set kind of tells you that. Can you identify the two proportions? And what are they? We got P1 and P2. Yeah. Go ahead, be brave. P1 and P2?
Those who received garlic and got cold.
Good. Can I put one more word in there? The percentage of those? Want to call that P1, Veronica?
Yes.
Percentage of those? Awesome. Who got colds with garlic? And P2 better be the other one, percentage of those who got colds without garlic. At least they blinded the study, right? I'm assuming they double blinded the study too. The researcher was handing pills to people and he didn't know, or she didn't know what was in them. And the people getting the pills had no idea what they were getting. They were giving them a white pill, whether or not. So the placebo effect that we studied last class might be in full effect. Get a placebo, think it's actually doing something for you, knock something out of you, it's possible. It's possible.
How would you not know that you weren't getting a garlic pill?
Well, if you've ever heard Robin Leach and garlic, I take garlic is odorless.
You ever see that guy, the crazy British guy? I'm showing my age a little bit because I think this was back in like the late 80s, early 90s, but it's all about odorless garlic tablets. They somehow isolated the goodness of garlic, put it in a tablet that didn't smell or taste like garlic, which in my opinion is, what the hell's the point? Garlic's wonderful. I mean, granted. And also, I got no statistical evidence of this. I think it keeps mosquitoes away. At least in the quantities I consume, which is a hell of a lot of garlic. But I never had, there aren't a whole lot of mosquitoes in Bend, not a whole lot of standing water. But on the East Coast, mosquitoes were a huge issue, especially this time of year. It starts getting muggy and humid, and all the standing pools of water start thawing out, and mosquitoes breed in them. I never had problems with mosquito bites, and I consumed mass quantities of garlic. I'm Italian, I love garlic. So, in my opinion, the smell of garlic is part of the appeal, but I know that it's not for everybody. But the pills are supposed to counteract that. Like, you actually take a pill, you can't smell it at all.
Isn't the odorless the point is if you are taking it, you don't burp it up? Kind of like fish oil.
My mom claimed that she could smell me, I was emanating garlic.
Coming out of your pores.
Coming out of my pores, what she used to say. So I don't know if it's actually just a digestive thing or if it's actually a metabolic thing. I don't know. Complete ignorance on this one. But yes, sounds legit. But somehow, even if you burp, they must have isolated whatever's in garlic besides the odor. I mean, whatever I don't know, I've never looked at garlic tablets or whatever those garlic supplements are, because it seems stupid, like roasting garlic, eating them, even the cloves of it. Oh, so
well, that was my mom's complaint, because she took it.
the burping. Well, I mean, I'm sure it smells even better, but it's coming back up after you've digested it a few times for a few hours. Lovely. Good stuff. Garlic fans? A couple of you? Oh, there we go. There we go. All the front of the class. That's awesome. Not afraid to share. All right, so we got our variables. What are we testing? What's the theme, or what's the belief from the data?
That people that eat, or that were given the garlic supplements had fewer colds.
Awesome. Symbolically, what would it look like? Perfect. Yes, P1 is less than P2 for sure. Little P1 less than little P2 for sure. For sure. And the only reason I have you write this down, is to make sure that you can enter it into technology correctly. Honestly, that's the main reason. Technically speaking, you don't even need to have this. I mean, honestly, this is whatever else it is, rather than I'll put it in a different color. I mean, and again, we're getting ready to send you guys out of this into the world of statistics and analyzing data and consuming your journals. So you're very rarely going to see null hypotheses written out. Although it kind of helps to know what you're looking at, because the whole point of doing the study is that there is a curve. There is a curve. Right there. And who is that? That's 0, but give me that in terms of P1 and P2. Who's there in terms of P1 and P2? Equal, exactly. This curve is P1 minus P2. It's exactly right. If you think about it, that's perfect. You said it a better way than I was going to say it, Veronica. I was going to say this is P1 minus P2 equals 0, but you've given me the entire range of values. Yeah. This whole curve is P1 minus P2. You've probably forgotten this already. It's totally fine if you have. I had you guys, when we started talking about my bike and the brakes last week, we actually constructed this test statistic from scratch by subtracting the actual values. So the assumption is that there is no difference whether you take a garlic pill or not. That would put you squarely at 0. If people that took garlic pills got colds at higher rates than those who didn't, so if this guy was bigger than this guy, P1's bigger than P2, where would your test statistic land then? If P1 is bigger than P2? It would come over here, wouldn't it? Because if this is bigger than this, the difference is positive, which is going to put you over here somewhere. If it's less, which is what we're testing, if it's less, that means this is smaller than this, which sends it down this way. So all we've got to check is to make sure it gets far enough down to be suspicious. If it's far enough down there, it falls back to everything we talked about for the past 6 weeks, which is, it's easy to believe there's some other curve down there. There's some other curve down there, and that other curve implies that garlic's doing something. Or at least it's worth looking at again in this study. Cool? Excellent. Errors! Errors! Type 1, false positive. that garlic pills give less colds or create when they actually don't. False positive. That helps to sell garlic tablets.
That helps to pay Robin Leach's salary. No, it's extravagant.
There was a terrible show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. That was him. He was the host. Yes.
Yes, I'm Robin Leach. I don't get colds, so I use garlic.
So, false positives would support garlic sales, of course. False negatives would be this equivalent to doing what? Saying garlic does not reduce colds, when in fact it does. Yeah, we fire Robin Leach at that point. But also, we might lose out on the old quote-unquote cure for the common cold. Or at least, not cure, but reduction of the common cold. What do you guys think is worse? Type 1 or type 2? Your opinion.
Type 2.
I think so too. My personal opinion is type 2, because you're making people suffer needlessly, perhaps. Anybody say type 1? Type 2 is my vote. Type 1? Awesome. So type 2, I think from the benefit of humanity, I think type 2 is worse because colds are so prevalent. And if you have a fix and you miss it, that seems worse. That seems worse to me, rather than having some placebo out there that is being artificially marketed as... Well, you saw what happened to Airborne. Airborne was the exact same thing. Except Airborne, I think, was marketed to take after you have symptoms of colds. I'm pretty sure that was once you feel a cold, once you feel your throat tickling, take Airborne. And it's gone in 10 to 14 days. Just as if you sat around and drank a bunch of water without Airborne in it. So, anyway, I loved Airborne too. It was brilliant marketing. Created by a second grade teacher. Perfect marketing. Because number one, second grade teachers are bulletproof and they're around little snide-nosed kids all day. And number two, nobody trusts doctors when it comes to that kind of stuff. The more and more studies come out, and they talk about drugs and how multivitamins cure cancer and blah, 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 blah. And somehow, having it from a second grade teacher sounds more approachable, you know? Nobody bothered to ask, did she teach science? Nobody bothered to ask that. But it just seemed more like down-homey. I liked it too, it was beautiful marketing. Anyway, I think we're done. I think I'm ready to actually test this thing. Yes?
Yes.
Let's do it. Come over here.